my goal today is to share with you how was my experience during the quarantine and what I feel is the market doing along with the stats, which is what we all have to look for when we are working in this industry. One of the things first for the people who don't know me, the ones who know me and are here, I really appreciate it. And the ones who don't, I want to introduce myself. I am originally from Venezuela. I have been living in Miami for 20 years. Actually, I just completed my 20 years in Miami a couple of days ago. And I live originally in Weston, and in the last years, I have been living in Coral Gables, and Coral Gables has become my favorite place. It's wonderful to live there, and it is a great experience to live the urban lifestyle where I can walk around and all the good things about living in an urban core. The other thing I want to share with you is that I have a YouTube channel at it's Ines Garcia-Arcaya, and my goal in my channel is to share with you all my experience of 20 years. Actually, I have been doing real estate for 25 years because I did 5 years before, over 5 years before coming here. So I have been in real estate for pretty much all my life. So long story short, during the quarantine, when everything started, I was scared to death. I said, you know, this is going to be the end. We're going to be doing nothing for a few months. And then as days went by, I was so super busy. I had a listing in Brickell that for me was, I would say it was historical. We had it under contract before the quarantine. The transaction fell through. In between, I got 2 more deals. One fell because the person didn't qualify for the financing, because she lost her job. And finally, I got another offer, and we were able to close it. But in the meantime, I got so many calls that I said, oh my God, it's interesting that there's so many people looking for properties. But I thought it was, you know, the product, the price, and so on. But as I was following the market, of course, during the time we were at home, there were not that many pending sales going to the market. But still, you know, there was activity, and it was interesting. So fast tracking as of today, you will see it in the stats, there has been a lot of activity, actually much more than expected. From the beginning, there were signs that the current signs of the country and the economy would probably say that the future didn't look that horrible as we felt in the beginning, but it was still a challenge. So, but we have been very surprised that the recovery has come faster and in a much better position than what we envisioned. So starting with that, I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. I'm going to be showing some of the data that I'm sorry, it got me from the beginning. I'm sorry. Okay, so so let's first go about what I'm going to be talking to you about today. I'm going to be first explaining a little bit what is a buyer's market and what is a seller's market. The historical data that shows that 2008 is completely different than 2020. A Coral Gables market update, how Coral Gables compare, top reasons to sell now, and top reasons to buy now. Please, if you have any questions to start them, put them in the chat, and depending on the topic, if I know I'm going to be covering it a little bit later, I will wait until the end. But if it is something that clarifies what I am saying, I will be answering like right there. So with that, let's start. Regarding the historical data, I have been, in 2008, after 2008, I played with this graph that for me was very interesting, because at the time I predicted that when the line of prices that, assuming it would have gone in a steady step, meets where we are, it's when the recovery will come. So that was my play, because we knew that the prices had gone up so much. In my game, I said that the problem with 2009 or 2008, 2010, which was the period that we saw the problem with the pricing, is that definitely the prices were extremely high, were increasing extremely rapidly, and they were not keeping pace with what would be a decent or normal or realistic price increase of properties. So, and I said it's gonna pan out that really when we are gonna be balancing the prices, and you can see it was just like right now, a few years ago, probably 2 years ago, 1-2 years ago. So with that, I'm going to be talking, let me show you the difference between in price appreciation, supporting my previous point. In the 6 years leading up to the housing crash, see the increases in price, which makes this time put us in a much better position, because the price increases have been a more reasonable amount. Still probably a little bit higher than could probably be the average, but we are in a much better position. That's my point. So in 2008 and 2020, one of the big problems was that there was too much credit availability. Anyone could get a loan and not necessarily really qualifying or having the qualifications to be able to pay that over time. And as you can see now, we are here. So that also makes a huge difference. Even though the interest rates are very low, you know, it's a much stricter time to, or has been for several years, a much stricter time to get a loan. So that also helps with, you know, the stability or the strength of the buyers or the now homeowners. If you see here, one of the measures, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper on supply and demand and month of inventory, or month of inventory of supply of properties, but you can also see that in 2008 or after 2008, we had a very high number of month of inventory. I don't have the graph that shows before 2008, but they were very low. And so we had then, after the crisis, we had this period with high inventories, which means that when we have high inventories, we know that, or we expect the prices to go down, for the simple reason that the buyer who's looking at properties has a lot of properties to look at, and the sellers who are more motivated are the ones who are going to be reducing the prices and I'm sorry, reducing the prices and are the ones that cause the prices to keep falling. So having said that, give me a second, let me check, because I think I have a question in the chat. Give me 1 second. Wait a second, let me find the chat. Okay. Okay, so let me explain a little bit what a buyer's market and a seller's market are. As any principle of sales, if you have more buyers than sellers, then the prices tend to go down. The sellers who are more motivated will be driving the prices down. But what we hope in this time is that since there's much more equity in the properties that was in the 2008, is that the impact will be much, much, much lower. If there are two measures to determine if we are in a buyer's or a seller's market, depending on the price point of the properties. If we are talking about properties under $1 million, if we have 6 months of inventory, it's considered seller's market, meaning sellers have a lot of power to negotiate If we have 6 to 9, it's a balanced market, meaning it's like where the prices kind of stay still and or little increases. And in a buyer's market is when we have more than 9 months of inventory based on closed sales. So let's do the math. Let's say in a particular market we have 100 listings, and in the average, there are several ways to determine the number of units sold. It could be average from the last 12 months, average from the last 6 months, or definitely average from the last month. If we have active listings, 100 active listings, and we have sold 10 units, average per month in the last 6 months, we would say that we have 10 months of inventory based on closed sales. So it will take, if no new listings are coming to the market, it will take 10 months to deplete the inventory. So in that case, if the property is under 1 million, we would say we are in a buyer's market. Or if we are in the above $1 million, we would say we are in a seller's market. So if you have any questions about that, I will be more than happy to clarify it after, but I want to be clear about why we use the month of inventory, because that shows supply and demand, pretty much. It's, you know, how's the market behaving. So let's start with Coral Gables and combining single family homes and condos. One of my points in my market presentations are that general data just show you general trends, but you have to look at the micro markets, and then we're going to going deeper and deeper on detail. It is a completely different story. So when we look at the Coral Gables in general, real estate market, if we are combining single family homes and condos, we can say that we are in a buyer's market. And just to point out, the average days of the active listings is 178 and the closed listings is 158. So that means that the properties are taking a little bit long to sell. Then we are talking about Coral Gables, which is a very high price point market. But again, we are talking about all products, all price points. So, but based on what happened and what occurred during the 3 months pretty much that we were off the streets, there were not that many new pending sales coming up. Happening. So what happened is that right after that, there has been a spike in pending sales, but during that time or the following month, the closed sales are less because there were less pendings happening, less properties going under contract happening. So, but anyway, if we look at these, in general, in Coral Gables, we have today 116 units pending, which is a lot. Listing prices from $190,000, which is a very small condo, to a super huge house listed for $27,900,000. So you can see also that there is a huge range of properties that have gone pending or that are pending currently. And the month of inventory based on pending sales, which is another measure we use, it's 4.7, which is amazing. That's a great, great market to be in. Let's now divide that huge data into 2 different data. The single family homes, separate them from the condos. So when you look at the single family homes, we have a 9 month of inventory, 9 months of inventory, which is super good because remember that we are talking that the average price in Coral Gables is over $1 million and of the close and 3.3 of the actives. So still there are some discounts. There are many reasons why there are discounts. Probably the properties were priced too high to begin with. There are many reasons. So that's another story. So now let's see at the single family homes more in detail. As you can see, this is like the micro data that I was talking about. We can sort it by many measures, but I am concentrating today on price. So you will see that all the markets, the month of inventory, and these are month of inventory based on closed sales, are based also on the last 12 months. We are in a fantastic market. We are very well positioned. The single family homes are a very healthy market. Of course, when you go above 2 million, then it's another story. And that's the market that has been moving less. But remember, there's one that went under contract listed for over 27 million. So, you know, it's interesting, the dynamics of the market. Now let's go to the condos. It shows a completely different story. And you can see that in the condo market, we are definitely in a buyer's market. Our price points are, in general, our averages are under $1 million, and we are at 11 months, which is definitely a buyer's market. There are 30 units pending, listed from 190 to a little over 2 million. And the month of inventory based on pending sales is 7.63. So that makes it a more balanced based on the pendings. But we have to look at everything. And again, I'm going to go over the month of inventory by price point, and you will see that the properties under 300,000, and for some reason, the properties between 700 and 900 and 800,000 are in a good position between 7 and 8, and then the rest of the market is a little bit more than a little bit lagging. So again, when you are buying or selling, and that's a very important thing to note, you have to look at the product you are buying and the product you are selling, how they are regarding their micro market. It's not the same if you are selling a condo that it's priced 1.5 million that if you are selling a condo that is priced $300,000. So don't be fooled by the macro data, because it can deceive you, or it cannot be, you won't get the best advice if you only look at the macro data. So then I want to talk a little bit about how Coral Gables compares. We are, let's say, in Coral Gables, and this I went to the market in general. Again, in every market, we need to look at their micro market and the product that you are looking to buy or sell right now. So regarding Coral Gables, again, I mentioned we are in a buyer's market. Coconut Grove, it's also in a buyer's market in general. And Pinecrest, it's a balanced market. So see that properties that are one, or communities that are one next to the other, they behave differently. And see, as you saw before, the properties that are within the same communities, but are different kind of properties, they are also behaving completely different. So I think that was a very important point to make. I want to mention, why would you want to sell right now? There are many reasons, and I have a video about it in my YouTube channel, but I just want to come back and mention it right now. Every person has a reason to sell right now, or wait or not wait. One could be that you have enough equity and you just want to sell because you just want to sell. But it could be that you got a job transfer, and I am surprised. A lot of the people that I have seen lately, mostly in my rentals, are people who have been transferred to work in Miami. And so that's a very important point. Someone may be in a financial hardship and they just need to sell. They need to reduce the expenses, or they have purchased already another home and are ready to sell this one, or there's a divorce, or they're due for a big change in their life and said, you know what, I had it, this is my time to move to North Carolina. Some people want to reinvest the money in something that's going to make them more money. a sickness, a death, they need a smaller home or a larger home, which in times, let's say in this particular time in Coral Gables, if you want to upgrade and your property is in a market, it's very well positioned, and you are in a seller's market with that price point, but the property you are buying, it's more geared to a buyer's market, you can do a great combination there. And or someone who had spent too much in a property and it's already losing money, they said, you know what, I just want to move on and get on with my life. Now, reasons to buy, you could be that you need to move and you are not interested on or used to buy, to renting. The interest rates are low and all-time lows, and it's important to consider that a 1% increase in interest rates give you 11% less buying power. For example, if you could buy today a home for or get a loan today for $500,000 at 3%, for 30 years, your monthly payment on the loan would be $2,108. If you would wait and have a 4% interest rate, or wait and the rates go up 1%, which will take you to 4%, you would, for the same, pretty much the same payment, you would be able to buy or get a loan for $443,000. And the other good reason to buy right now, despite the unexpected or the uncertainty we could be living, is that you are buying to live and hold it for a long term. For investors, this may not be the best time. If the prices go down, which we don't know if or when, probably it's a better time for them. But for living, and if you are going to live there, it just makes sense to buy. Actually, I'm working today now with two buyers that are going to pay pretty much the same in their mortgage than what they are paying in their current rental. So they say, I have to pay the same amount. Why would I keep waiting to buy until after the interest rates go up, and then my payment will be higher than what I am paying in rent today? So that's another very important point to take into consideration. One of the things that I want you to live with, that this time we are living a completely different circumstances that we had in 2008. The real estate market, and let me stop sharing my screen. We are in completely different circumstances than in 2008, and the real estate market is started this crisis, or however you want to call it, in a much healthier situation. So that helps a lot with the long-term expectations. Another thing that we are looking or we are sensing is that there's a lot of people from the north who are moving to South Florida. And that adds to the already high increase of population moving to Florida. So it's a very interesting point that we have people who, our population is increasing every day. And that helps a lot our industry, the real estate industry. But another thing I want you to leave with today is that you have to look at micro markets to determine the real position of a property, or if it is a buyer's or a seller's market. Your personal situation would determine everything probably in life, but particularly when we are talking about buying or selling real estate, we have to look at everything. It's a holistic approach. It's the financial part and the personal part. So that's one of the things that are super important to look at. Another thing is that it's important to know that for many reasons, but we feel that a lot of it has to do with the fact that people are or have been a little bit scared about living in condos, that the single family market, on top of the little supply of new properties that come in the single family home market, at least in Miami-Dade, the single family market is performing much better than the condo market. And another thing is that also during the quarantine, some buildings limited big time the ability to show properties during those days, which was a lot easier with single family homes. And going back to showings, what we are doing is taking a lot of measures to ensure that we can show safely our listings. So and even when we go with buyers, the same. We do everything to make sure that everyone is protected. And the other takeaway from today and the information you got today is that the real estate market rebounded faster and better than expected. Again, there was a lag between the time we were at home, but the real estate market seemed to be a little bit decoupled or a little bit distanced from the reality, the job losses and all the other things that are happening. But again, we are in a very, very healthy situation in general. The industry, the properties, the reality of the loans and the equity in the properties is a lot better today than it has ever been. So we are in a very, very good situation to move on. So thank you very much for attending today. And now I'm gonna be answering any questions you may have. Let me check okay. I have one question here. What should I do to your home before selling? One of the things that we like to tell our buyers, our sellers, is do the basic things you want to do or need to do to make your home look fresh and clean. It doesn't take too much money to clean, to paint, to repair. And sometimes just changing the countertop in the kitchen or changing the landscaping in the front or changing a carpet for a laminate or doing what I call, and it's an expression that I love, some Botox to the property would save you from doing major surgery. One of the things that I would suggest anyone who's gonna do any change in the home is to make sure that whatever you do, it's something that it's attractive to a lot of people. You may like a particular finish, but not necessarily that's the finish the market is looking at, or the most people looking for homes in the market are looking at. Another thing is that whatever you have in your house, make it look that they don't have to change everything. Some buyers want to have the project of remodeling, but the cost and the time it takes to do that sometimes deter people from doing it. So it's a one-on-one basis. It depends on your personal situation, how much money you have to invest. But of course, the better looking the house, the better possibilities you have to sell it at top dollars and very quickly. Thank you for all these messages. I have another question here. Should I buy a home to be updated or ready to go? Well, it ties in with the other question. If you are a buyer and you love the project of redoing a house, do it. But if you find a house, my opinion is that if you find a house that has everything or a lot of the things you want, you are gonna end spending a lot less money than you would if you would do everything from the beginning. And actually, if you see an appraisal, let's say a work that cost an owner $50,000, an appraiser would only give credit for 10 or 15 or 20 if they are lucky, and they do. So again, do your due diligence, Try, be patient if you can until you find the right home. Another question I have here, what do I think about the Aventura market? The Aventura market, I don't follow it very closely. I have had listings there, rentals and sales, but it's not a market that I'm following every day. I will be more than happy to do analysis like the one I did for the micro markets for the Aventura market for you. I know in general the condo market is suffering, or it's not in such a good position as the single family home market. And again, if the property is above $1 million, probably it is also suffering. What I would suggest to anyone that has a listing is price it right. You have to price it not only based on what sold before, but what is your competition. You want to make sure that the property you are selling is the most attractive in every sense, in the way it looks and the way it is positioned in the MLS. When we as agents send properties to our client, we send in the first batch of properties, we send the best values. And if you have a listing or you are gonna sell your home, please, I beg you, prepare it for the pictures, but prepare it as if you would be holding in your home your daughter's wedding, and you are gonna be, your future boss is coming to dinner. You want it to look perfect. And the pictures, I am a big fan of professional photography. I feel it makes a huge difference in the way a property shows and the number of showings you get in the properties with professional pictures. I am doing professional pictures even for my low price rentals. I feel it makes a difference. I get showings, I would say, almost every day in my listings. I have one property, and it's my shame in life, that I couldn't do professional photography because I had tenants in the property and there was no way. I did my best, but I couldn't. It didn't make sense. And of course, now the 3D tour for the properties, it's another resource that we can miss. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's a great resource because it shows a lot of the property. But the problem is that the property has to be perfect. And sometimes for us, as agents, it is heartbreaking to tell someone that their home doesn't look perfect. And we do our best to advise them on the things they need to do. But again, we are like doctors. If you go to the doctor and you need to lose weight, do you want a doctor who don't tell you that you need to lose weight, or you prefer a doctor who takes care of you and asks you to lose weight? So again, it's our duty, it's our obligation as agents to make sure that our listing shows its best. Another question here, how was the activity during the quarantine? We were all surprised. I have a friend that was listed a property in Parkland over it was, I think, listed for the $700,000-800,000, but the market was a healthy market. But still, people were in quarantine, and she had so many showings that I couldn't believe it. When she told me every day, "Oh, I'm going to show the property. I'm going to show the property," I said, "Wow!" In that price point, when we were not really knowing what was going on, or had no idea what how things were going to develop. So that for me was a very good sign that the market was responding much better than what we expected, along with my own experience with my listings. I don't know if anyone has other questions. Are we in a seller's or a buyer's market? Now you should be able to answer these for me. What do you say? The people who are in the presentation, are we in a seller's or buyer's market? Anyone? Gives a take? Okay, it depends. It depends on the product, it depends on the price, it depends on the location, it depends on the situation, it depends. Yes, Isabel, we are in a buyer's market. in some products. But as you could see in my presentation, we are in a balanced market in some areas, and we are actually in a seller's market in another areas. I actually have now a customer who's buying a property, who wants to buy a property in Costa del Sol in Doral. They are townhouses built, there are some older, but the ones he's looking at are from the 80s. And we have presented offers on 3 properties. On the 3 of the properties, we have been outbid. So some of them have had 3-4 offers, and it's crazy. Isabel, yes, it depends where. I have another one that in Weston. Of course, I do Coral Gables. I love Coral Gables, but I come from Weston, and I still have a lot of relationships and a lot of family and a lot of friends in Weston and past customers. So I had another sale. I'm working still. It's pending. Another sale in Weston on a home in the $500,000-$600,000 range. And also there were multiple offers in the properties. And my offers, we lost one that the offer was based on, what was reasonable. And we got a bid. And I told my customer, you know what? This is not a time to overpay. This is a time to buy right. You are not going to get bargains. We have not seen many opportunities to buy bargains. We haven't seen drastic price reductions as we expected from at the beginning. It is not the time to overpay. If you are going to pay a little bit more, well, you can. And mostly if you plan to live there for 5, 7, or 10 years. And my recommendations to my customers is, if you buy at this time, make sure of 2 things. One, that you can hold the property, that you are planning on holding the property for a long time. And if not, if you are not, and if your personal future is a little bit uncertain, to make sure that at least your mortgage payment is aligned with the rentals in the area. So if something changes in your life, you can keep the property and rent it and be able to pay your mortgage. Those are my 2 recommendations to my buyers. Interest rates. I am not an economist. I am not